operational consideration questions for you.
Yeah.
For the heat sensitivity, you already talked a little bit about hot starts for a turbine engine. What are some things you should watch for to avoid hot starts?
I mean, so we have FADEC, right? In our
Okay.
it controls that for us. So if it sees that EGT spiking, you know, and and you get kind of a feel for it, you can watch that EGT come up as you're
Yeah.
starting in, and you kind of get a feel for it. If you see it going fast, though, you're like, oh, here it comes. And so, personally, in the 737, we don't do anything. We just let the FADEC system take care of that hot start, and it'll
Okay.
shut the engine down completely by itself. Yep.
Oh,
But yeah, it's mostly EGT. You can usually tell. That's that's generally what it is.
okay. And then I was reading also in the book that it can be a problem to overheat an engine on takeoff based on your power setting. So
Yep. Yep. Especially,
is that a common thing to watch out for, or
yeah. I mean, yeah. So we have a limitation. You can. I can't. Again, it's an automated system. We don't keep track of the numbers anymore. When I
yeah?
was flying the DC-9 and the older airplanes, we used to have to know those numbers. But I can't even give you a good number. But we can run for 10 seconds into the red, and you just bring
Okay.
it back. And as long as it's less than 10 seconds, you're good to go. Generally, you'll see it coming out of like Mexico, high and hot. So if you're in Las Vegas, Mexico City, some of those places in the summer, we tend to take off with a D-rated power. So if so say like today, say the temperature is 0 degrees Celsius, right? And
Yeah.
the wind, we would probably take off today out of Minneapolis on a 12,000-foot runway or 10,000-foot runway.
Hmm.
Like we would set the system up to think that it was 45 degrees C. So it's super
Okay.
hot, 110 out. And by doing that, it would set the power setting to where it thought it was 45 degrees C, and which is far less than full power.
Okay.
So by doing that, it's less wear and tear on the engines, and you don't get even close to overheating. So where you'd run into actually over temping an engine on takeoff would be, I'm coming out of Las Vegas, there's thunderstorms in the area, and I want full power because I'm afraid we're going to see some wind shear or something.
Okay.
Downdraft or something.
Yeah.
So if I do that and it's 110 real degrees outside, we might see something. You might be pushing the envelope on that area. But like I say, that FADEC system, it takes a lot of the thinking out of our hands, which is nice.
So it'll generally stop it for you.
Correct. Or
Okay.
it won't stop it, but it will reduce it. And then if I need it, I can get it back. I can force it into, that if we're coming towards the ground, I can get all the power I want as much as possible. But it will try to reduce it. Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That's a very high level,
Yeah.
loose overview of that system. But yeah, it will do that.
And then with transitioning regarding like the split shaft or free turbine engines, how can you? I know adjusting the power settings can be a little different because there's like a power lag when you push the power in.
Yep.
Is that hard to get used to or adjust to, or do you get pretty used to it?
No, you get used to it, and you get used to it in a hurry.
Okay.
So it's not like and that kind of goes into it, that inertia, because you always have that extra bump, right? The weirdest part is when you go to take off, actually. So we use a button, the toga button, it's called, take off and go around button. And when you press that button, it takes some time to spool those big engines up, especially on a big high bypass. The new engines, like on the 737 Max, the Neos, they have really big high bypass engines, so it takes a long time for that engine to spool up. So that's the biggest difference. And sometimes those engines will spool up not at the same rate. So one will spool up really hard and it'll be at 90%, like that. And the other one will come creeping up and all of a sudden going into the weeds.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's probably the biggest thing. As far as like if you have power, so and the other, it's not necessarily pulling the power back, because generally when we pull the power back, you're at cruise, you have time. There's no, you don't care about lag. Whatever. You're at 35,000 feet. It doesn't matter if it lags or not. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
What's 2 seconds? It's when I'm at the ground, I'm at 50 feet, I'm shooting an approach, and I'm at 50 feet, and I need to go around. I push go around, and it's going to take some time to get those engines spooled up. So we figure at 50 feet, you're going to probably touch the ground if you go around.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So if you're at 100 feet, you're probably not going to touch the ground, but you're probably going to come within 15 or 20 feet of the ground. So that's the big difference, I guess, is you just don't have that instant power. Like in a 172, you give it gas, propeller turns, and you go. In a jet, you give it power, and you wait, and you wait, and you're like, oh God, and then boom.
And then with those takeoff and go around buttons, do those just spool up the engine and then you have to add in the throttle power, or?
So if you have a so the CRJs, which are the Canada regional jets, the 200s, the 700s, the 900s, do not have auto throttles. So if you hit go around, nothing happens. You have to it'll give you markers, and it will give you a like a widget in your PFD, in your flight director. Your flight director will pop up, and it'll give you something to shoot for, but it will not actually move the throttles.
Oh.
In the 737, we have auto throttles. So if the auto throttles are still on, which we don't land with auto throttles. So if you're at 50 feet, they're probably off. But if the auto throttles are still on and I hit go around, the auto throttles will automatically come up to where you want. Yeah.
Okay.
And the Airbus, they always come up. Auto throttles are always on. So Airbus guys never turn the auto throttle because the throttles don't move. 737 auto throttles don't move. Every time they move, you know what it's doing, which is kind of nice. You always know where the airplane